going on, you awesome movie nerds? And welcome back to another episode of what I've been watching, because why have this awesome film collection if I'm not going to watch anything? So this week was kind of interesting because my sound system decided to give out on me. So there was a couple days where my home theater was not able to be used. So I decided to take up a 7-day free trial on Apple TV+. So that's mostly what I've been watching, is stuff off of Apple TV+, but before my sound system decided to give out on me, I watched The Passion of the Christ. It was Easter weekend, and I hadn't seen this movie in a while, but man, like, I remembered it being gruesome. This thing was a lot. My one complaint is that it's so focused on Christ's death, but not on his resurrection. It's just the one shot at the end. And it's the combination of his death and his resurrection that means so much. If it was just the sacrificial death, it wouldn't matter if Jesus didn't rise again from the grave. I kind of wish it pulled back a little bit on the gruesome nature of it, just not so long. Like, I understand why you go for that. It's just, it's a lot, and you don't get the joy of his resurrection. So that would be my one critique. A little bit too much focused on the death, but still, a solid film. I would not recommend everyone watch it, though. It's interesting. It's the Passion. It's the Passion of the Christ. Everyone knows this is interesting. Okay. So then after that, that's when my sound system, because I watched that Sunday evening as I was trying to watch stuff, my sound system went kapooey. So I ended up getting a subscription to Apple TV Plus and started watching some stuff on that. The first thing I ended up watching was Wolfwalkers. The reason I got Apple TV Plus was to watch Wolfwalkers, because I've seen other films these creators have made, Secret of Kells, The Song of the Sea. Both are really, really solid films, and Wolfwalkers is every bit as solid and as magical and as amazing of a film. This just wraps you up in a whirlwind. Like, it takes just a little bit to get going, but it just wraps you up in this whirlwind of events, and it is so amazing. One thing that stuck out to me, that my favorite part of the whole film, is you've got basically your big governmental leader, and everyone, you just do what he says so that you don't end up in the stocks. That's a whole big plot point throughout the entire film. And the daughter finally asks,
"Why, Father? Why?"
"I'm afraid."
And he says, "'Cause I'm afraid."
"I'm afraid."
I thought that was really powerful, but then it went on.
"I won't be here to protect you forever. I'm so afraid that one day you will end up in a cage."
But I already am in a cage.
It's just a really interesting, especially in the time that we're in, talking point, and I thought that was really good, and just overall a really solid film. I don't know, it's one that I don't think is going to stick with me nearly as much. It's kind of like Kubo and the Two Strings. I love that film, but it's just not something that sticks with me or stays with me for very long, which I think is unfortunate. But really solid. I would recommend getting the 7-day free trial just to watch Wolfwalkers, or even if you need to get it for a month, it's $5. Pay for it for a month. Watch Wolfwalkers, because that's really solid. The second film I ended up watching was Cherry. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't what I got. Cherry is an excellent, excellent film. That's a film that actually got into my head and just worked around in my brain for a while. It's kind of depressing. It's a really depressing movie. But it's good. It's really good. I also watched a film called Boys State. This documentary. That was an interesting documentary. It's a thing in Texas where basically you allow these boys to create their own state and their own government and legislation and all this. I think it's a week-long sort of like a camp, and you get to have them run their own political campaigns and all sorts of stuff. It was really interesting. And I would just love to, because it's kind of a way to experiment with different political campaigns and stuff without actually affecting anything. It's really cool. What I found, though, that was so interesting was all the people they followed around, except for one, were moderate to left leaning. Much more left leaning. And it's just interesting because it's Texas. It's a very right leaning, very much a right wing state. And just so interesting to see the people that they decided to follow around. But what was even more interesting was they were constantly pushing this message of compromise. I mean, I agree, there needs to be compromise to some degree, but all the compromise that was happening was from the right going more left. You never see the left compromising to the right. And you also see a lot of people using talking points that they've heard from Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder. And some of them I've actually done some research and know what they're talking about, but others are just throwing out things that they've heard. It was just, I would recommend Boys State. I would, especially if you're interested in politics. And the last thing that I've been watching, not a movie, but the morning show. Because there's a lot of interesting shows that are on Apple TV Plus. And the morning show was one that I had been wanting to check out. It's solid. I have not finished it yet. I've got a few more episodes to watch, but it just feels like filler at this point. The first 3 episodes were so good in setting stuff up, but this middle section is just feeling very filler to me, and just following a bunch of side stuff that I don't care about. So I'm a little bit disappointed with how this whole thing's playing out. But again, because you're talking about a morning show, it's a morning news show, and so you're dealing with political things. And again, it's interesting. They have Reese Witherspoon's supposed to be playing a conservative to moderate libertarian. And yet she has some very left-leaning ideas and ideology. So I just find it... I don't think that the people in Hollywood, or that the people who are making these shows today really understand a right-wing conservative viewpoint, or they for sure don't want to portray it. But it's still, it's a solid show that asks some interesting questions and dives into some interesting themes. I feel like this would work better as a movie, though. I really do. I don't think... This did not need 10 hours to explore this story. 2 hours would have been sufficient. I don't think it needed to be a show. It's solid, but it's kind of a standard streaming service show. Anyway, would I recommend Apple TV Plus after my 7-day free trial? To be honest with you, after 7 days, I've watched most everything I've wanted to see off of Apple TV Plus. All the stuff on there is quality content. There's just not a lot of it. And that's why it's $5 a month. I mean, I would recommend getting it, maybe getting it for a month, watching everything you want to watch, and then, because I think Wolfwalkers is a really, really solid film, and would highly recommend finding a way to watch it. I'd even recommend finding a way to watch Cherry, but there's just not enough content on Apple TV Plus to really justify it, in my opinion. Anyway, that's what I've been watching. What have you guys been watching? Something old, something new? Let me know in the comments section below. I love hearing from you guys, and as always, I love you awesome nerds, and I'll see you in the next one.